Okay, good evening, and I've muted everybody. Please ensure any mobile devices or mobile phones are switched off. If you're not speaking or being asked to speak, I'll turn my camera on, or being asked to speak, please mute your microphones. If you do not mute your microphone, it will be muted for you. To assist people viewing the meeting, could everyone turn their cameras off and only turn them on when speaking, and also introduce yourselves whenever you speak. To ensure the smooth running of the meeting, could members wishing to speak please use the hands up facility on Teams whenever possible. Please note that the meeting is currently being webcast live. This is a meeting of the executive, and it's on the 26th of November 2020. In attendance are the members of the executive, which are myself, John Halsall, the leader of the council, John Kaiser, the deputy leader of the council, an executive member for finance and housing, Parry Bath, environment and leisure, Ulla Corinne Clark, the executive member for children's services, apologies for Charlotte Haytham-Taylor, Pauline Jorgensen, executive member for highways and transport, Charles Margetts, the executive member for health and well-being and adult services, Stuart Monroe, the executive member for business and economic development, Gregor Murray, the executive member for resident services, communications and emissions, and Wayne Smith, the executive member for planning and enforcement. Also in attendance is Anne Hunter from Democratic Services and Susan Parsonage, who is the chief executive. Before we start, I'd just like to make a statement. I have been immensely proud to lead the council during this period of emergency. The residents have reacted to this pandemic in a responsible and cooperative manner. The staff have shown strong commitment, innovation and flexibility. Thank you all. We have sought to steer the borough through very stormy waters with a firm and steady hand, and I'm pleased to say that generally we've been successful. We had the first outbreak of coronavirus 9 months ago. Since lockdown a month ago, cases in Woking have been falling and are currently 109.3, having risen to 155 peak. It is clearly disappointing to find ourselves in tier 2, but that is because that the tiering is harsher than it was, and that we've been grouped with the rest of Berkshire, excluding Slough. Our policy is to ensure that as far as we are able to return to tier 1. We believe that tier 1 gives our businesses the best chance to recover and allows for our residents to lead as full a life as possible. The first review will be on December the 16th and is based upon a number of factors, but regrettably is not negotiable. Since my last statement, two great British institutions, AstraZeneca and Oxford University, have announced an effective vaccine awaiting approval by the regulator. Today I read Sanofi, Translate Bio and GSK are coming into the frame, together with the Pfizer and Moderna. We can now be reasonably confident that the light at the end of the tunnel is real. I appreciate that everyone is tired and has been going on for some time, but sadly, it'll go on for much longer. Whilst the vaccines are excellent news, it will take some 6 months before they're universal, though benefits will be felt quite quickly as the elderly, the vulnerable, care homes and self-health staff are vaccinated. So we as a borough and borough council are planning for the winter and spring in the hope that the next summer we will return to normal, if we remember what that is. We understand that health staff, over 80s and vulnerable groups may be inoculated as soon as this year. Coronavirus is transmitted by contact or near contact. If we can inculcate a permanent behavioural change, we can have a low rate of infection. Your council is doing what is within its power to do so together with its partners, care homes, schools, businesses, marshals and community champions. Our trace system is now working well, and we will be rolling out in the new year more universal testing. Our primary task is now to ensure that every resident is safe, secure and not isolated throughout the winter. Everyone should have a warm home, food and the medicines. This administration is proud the homeless in the borough are now very low and all homeless are looked after. We have housed all the roughly sleepers except for one who insists that he prefers not to be housed. We will do the same with food and fuel poverty. It is extremely important throughout the emergency that our residents have confidence in the council. Statements that there are 6,300 children in poverty and rising and the 1 in 6 children living in poverty in the borough, we do not believe to be accurate or responsible. Having said that, one vulnerable person, child and family is too much. Next week in the Extraordinary Executive, we'll be agreeing the additional financial help that we're giving to families and businesses. Similarly, residents can have confidence that our council's finances are in extremely good health, despite the huge recent financial challenges we have faced as a result of COVID. These challenges have precipitated claims of insolvency, draconian service and staff cuts in other local authorities. There have been none here. The only time in the borough's history that we've been in a financial crisis was the period of control of the Lib Dems. We had perilous balances at only 2.3 million, an uncontrolled overspend of $1 million, and had to act quickly to arrest a genuine fatal decline into insolvency. 18 years of responsible leadership has, amongst other things, been devoted to restoring, maintaining and enhancing the council's well-being. This has entailed replenishing balances to a safe level of approximately 10 million, delivering efficiencies of many millions of pounds year on year, and generating new income sources through our commercially minded activities, whilst investing at an unprecedented level in key priorities such as highways, affordable housing and climate change. We were financially strong and resilient coming into this emergency, despite years of austerity, in which we faced continuously escalating statutory care costs and severe restrictions in government funding. It is this financial resilience that has enabled us to step up in the ways that we have needed for our community throughout the pandemic. Our real terms cost of delivering services has reduced by 31% since 2011, primarily as a result of continuous improvement, giving savings of over 22 million during the last 5 years on a net service budget of approximately 130 million, with very little that amounts to service cuts. Indeed, we have expanded services, including waste collection and libraries, whilst other authorities have been paring these back. For the last 5 years, our balances have held at approximately 9 to 10 million. We are the lowest funded unitary authority at £84 per person, while other authorities receive as much as £450 per person. Yet we still manage to invest in services, including a capital investment programme for our community of 150 million to 180 million each year. The Council's Treasury Management mid-year statement reports our income from investment activities at 7.2 million per annum, a material sum. All the borrowings the Council has ever had to deliver, all our capital roads, schemes, schools, affordable housing, regeneration, is at virtually no cost to our residents. Actually, it's £7.52 per annum for a Band D taxpayer. This borrowing has allowed us to accumulate realisable assets of almost 500 million, not including value from optimising our significant land holdings. We are one of the best council tax and business rate collectors in the country, and we're indeed the very highest achievers for council tax for 4 years running. Indeed, our collection rates are holding up even in these difficult times. Our housing companies are now running at a profit of over £650,000 per annum and net assets of 1.3 million. Our Wokingham Town Centre regeneration has secured committed rental in excess of 87% of its retail assets, some of which are not yet built, and has secured rental income in excess of the cost of borrowing, with retailers still flocking in to take up units, even in current times. Again, we buck the trend. The comprehensive performance assessment, widely feared due to its intensive and thorough inspection, awarded the highest score for Wokium under many of its financial themes each year, and the highest score on all themes in 1 year. We were the only council to achieve this accolade. More recently, we've been reported in national journals and in external specialist reports as having excellent financial standing and financial management. Our financial strength and standing are not only something that has materialized overnight. We cannot rest on all our laurels. We cannot rest on our laurels, as we will have severe financial challenges in the future. The work we have done and continue to do should be recognised for its incredible achievement and should not be blemished by untrue statements that bring the council into disrepute and discredits all that have been given so much. The comprehensive spending review has not been unhelpful to Wokium, but until the overall financial settlement is made, which you expect in December, we cannot fully assess the significance to Wokium. Please help me to help you. Those on this call are councillors, the press and interested members of the public. What you do and say will have an enormous impact on public behaviour towards the virus and economic recovery. Please do not make things up with Trumpian statements from Twyford or bizarre references to buying a kitchen and cars from the faculty at Royal Holloway, or because it is politically expedient or provides a good story. To get through this successfully, residents must have confidence in the council and the press. Residents must feel we're doing our best to keep everyone safe, secure and happy. Lastly, stay safe and observe the rules. Thank you. And now, if I can take the minutes for the last meeting. Can I ask members whether they have read the minutes for the last meeting, and a proposer and a seconder, please?
I'm happy to second, John.
Can I have a proposer then?
I'll do that, John, if you like.
Thank you. Pauline proposed second. Can I ask any disagreement with the minutes or any amendments that anybody would like to put forward? Can I then take them as accepted? Thank you. Any declarations of interest? No? I understand there's no public questions. Is that correct still, Anne? Yes?
Yes, that is, Chairman, that is correct.
Andy, please put your question and mute your mic. The relevant member will respond within 2 minutes and mute his mic. Thank you very much. Andy.
Thank you very much for that party political broadcast, John. So my question is, why does the council consult the public on cuts to the council tax reduction scheme, but not on councillor pay rises?
Thank you very much for the question. I'm somewhat surprised that you've asked this question as you have, Andy, because you seem to have got the wrong end of the stick. It is my intention not to reduce those who qualify, but to expand the scheme, to disallow the carers allowance as part of the money taken into consideration when making judgments on whether or not anybody will receive it. So there will be more carers that will actually qualify for this payment. But let me answer your question. It is that the council is obliged to comply with the legislation associated with these different subjects. Let me explain them in more detail. There is a legal requirement to carry out a public consultation when considering changes to the council tax reduction scheme. A consultation is required regardless of whether a negative or positive change, and as you heard earlier, I'm planning a positive change, But in Wokinham's case, the key purpose of the consultation is to understand better how we can improve or how we extend the scheme. Indeed, we think there is an opportunity, as I've said earlier, to disregard carers' allowance when taken into consideration, which will mean more carers will get the allowance. The local authorities member allowance, which is the second part of your question, it's a regulation agreed in 2003, set out in the framework for members' allowances to be awarded in addition to detailing how the Independent Remuneration Panel, or IRP, could operate. Wokingham Borough Council's IRP is made up of members of the public who voluntarily give up their time to conduct a biannual review of the members' allowance scheme. Independent Remuneration Panel members are recruited via advertisement in the local newspaper and on the WBC website, and via WBC social media streams. Potential candidates are then interviewed by the lead specialist for democratic and electoral services and the assistant director for the governance. Successful candidates are then appointed for a 3 to 4 year term. The IRP make recommendations to the council from an independent viewpoint, and the decision as to whether to accept these recommendations is left to the elected members. There is no requirement within the legislation for a full consultation on the recommendation from the IRP to be undertaken. The regulations underpinning members' allowances and the RIP do, however, stipulate that upon receipt of a copy of a report made to it by the Independent Remuneration Panel, the local authority must, as soon as reasonably practicable, ensure that copies of that report are available for inspection by members of the public and principal officers of the authority, and publish the recommendations and main features of the report in one or more newspaper circulating recommendations and the main feature of the report. It is in the area WBC adheres to these regulations and welcomes any comments received upon publication of the report and the newspaper article. Any comments received would be passed on to the IRP ahead of the item going to full council meeting for debate and decisions to be made by the members. Do you have a supplementary?
Thank you, John. I do. You're right when you say these processes are outlined by legislation, but that's the minimum standard. There's nothing in legislation which prevents the Borough Council from putting out a consultation on councillor pay rises, which would inform the work of the IRP. I suspect the reason we don't is that we won't necessarily get the answers which we want, which brings me on to the council tax reduction.
Andy, ask your question and don't tell us your opinion.
Hold on, I get a minute to make the point and answer the question. Okay. So the question is about the council tax reduction scheme. The wording of the survey was very, very poor, and many people I spoke to thought that the wording was designed in such a way as to encourage people to give answers that would result in less money going to the people who needed it the most. Why can't we design a decent survey to get proper answers from people?
I'm looking for proper answers from people, Andy. I want to, well, okay. What I want to do is, and the other issue, of course, is with regards to every time we go to consultation, there's an element of cost involved with that. I mean, we're following the legislation. We all the other councils I know do it that way. There's nobody else who doesn't do it that way, and I can't see any reason why we should change the way we do things just for it to cost the residents even more.
Facebook doesn't cost anything. It's free.
Thank you, Andy. Lindsay.
Thank you for your statement, which included rhubarb from Remenham. My question is, we are aware that there have been a number of issues within Optilis over the past months. Have the relations between Royal Borough Windsor Maidenhead and Wokingham Borough Council now improved?
Charles? 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 Okay. Charles must have disappeared. So let me take that on his behalf. Optalis remains key to this council's delivery of adult social care and improvement journey. Optalis continues to perform well in all key measures, with many positive comments from local residents who use the services and their families. Plans are being jointly developed to create additional frontline capacity in the organisation. This will facilitate continued measured growth by providing a genuine alternative market option. This will also stimulate further efficiencies in the wider local and adult care sector. In addition to this, further opportunities for driving efficiencies and improvements are being developed in partnership with the Director of Adult Services. I would also like to thank the staff at Optalis for all the hard work they have been putting in on the front line throughout the COVID period. Many of them have gone above and beyond to make sure our residents are supported and safe. As you are aware, in terms of the relationship between the two council co-owners of Optalis, there has been an ongoing dispute in terms of agreeing an equitable split of central costs as laid out in the shareholder agreement. I'm pleased to announce that RBWM have agreed to settle two parts of that dispute, with positive ongoing negotiations to resolve the third and final elements. So the short answer to your question is, yes, there is an improvement. I'm positive about the future, but we do not let these negotiations, these negotiations come.
John, it's Charles here. Can you hear me now? I'm on a different computer, but I'm happy to take the supplementary if you wish.
Okay.
Good evening, Charles. Yeah, you're coming through loud and clear on your picture now. My supplementary is, I have concerns about the current arrangement and feel they may be unstable in the future. Do you also share that view?
I think I would answer that this way, Lindsay, that, I think I've shared publicly before that, the last 18 months we've been looking at Optalis and we've had a change of strategy. There's also been a review of governance, basically, and everything that the company does. It obviously follows that just because a company was doing something when it set up doesn't mean it's the right thing in perpetuity. And that's what's driven this discussion. I would say that, relationships with Optalis have improved dramatically since the appointment of the new CEO, David Birch. And, as John answered, we're in a much better place than we were. There are negotiations going on basically to resolve the third of the issues, basically regarding future costs at the moment. I'm hopeful of a positive outcome. Things have been much better with Optalis over the last 6 months. And, hopefully they'll go that way. But, we within WBC are fully focused on getting a relationship which works with Optalis, but works most of all basically for our residents, because, that's who we're all here for to serve.
Thank you, Lindsay. Thank you, Charles. Rochelle?
Hello. My question is I'm trying to get my question up as well as trying to do this two different ways here. My question is for the, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, but your camera's not on.
Okay, hold on. I can't put my camera on at the same time as doing this right now because of the right now. Sorry.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Far away.
Okay. My question is for the member for planning. Have you heard anything? Have you received any notifications of changing to the planning for the future proposals by the Ministry for Housing and Community and Local Government, as has been hinted at by the news and as well as newspaper, talking about revolting MPs against the government's white paper? In other words, is it another U-turn or not?
Evening, Rochelle. We've not heard anything yet, official or unofficial. The only things I've picked up is what you probably are alluding to that was in the Telegraph and that was reported through the BBC, but we've not had anything official yet. But let's hope it is a U-turn.
Have you supplementary, Rochelle?
Of course I do. Okay. There's been an appeal decision recently by the inspectors saying that a 2-story extension was perfectly allowed based on the new rules. So does this mean the rules are actually in effect or not?
I presume you're talking about permitted development rules.
Yes.
Yeah.
So development was allowed. 2-story extensions would be allowed under the new planning for the white paper, planning for the future white paper, but not necessarily allowed at this point without getting permission.
There was a document that was circulated by Marcia some time ago as a result of the question Andy Coy asked me was asked at the full council. I've asked Marcia to resend that note out to explain all of the rules on permitted development and the latest rules on temporary permitted development through COVID. So you could look at that. I don't know what actual one you're referring to, but there are some circumstances where permitted development can allow, but it does go through what they call a prior approval through the council. So it would have to go through a prior approval, and it could get permission if it meets the criteria. But Marcia is in the process of sending an updated note out to all members.
The council had actually turned it down. That was the whole idea.
Thank you, Rochelle.
Sorry, I don't know when that was, Rochelle, and when the inspector...
Talk to me later offline, okay?
Yeah, no problem. Sure.
Imogen.
Hello. Good evening. Turning my camera on. Camera should be on. Oh.
How lovely to see you.
Hello. Right. Okay. Let me find my question. Under our Love Wokingham brand, Wokingham Town Council has set a virtual access point for many of our local businesses in the town, which directs people to their online presence for our local shops and businesses. We have our own website, which regularly promotes these businesses on social media. During the lockdown window, we have been putting out lists of restaurants who are delivering takeaway food. It's a sort of virtual high street, which we've not been charging anyone for. I can see that Wokingham Borough Council has decided to start up a virtual Christmas market for small local traders on Facebook feed, for which they are rather shockingly charging £20 to £50 to use. Considering that there's clearly no website development and this looks like a very minimal service, I'm wondering what value it offers. What is Wokingham Borough Council actually investing in to promote and support all of our virtual businesses across the borough?
Stuart.
Is that Stuart? Okay.
Good evening, and thank you for your question, Imogen. Firstly, I'd just like to point out that Love Wokingham is funded by both the borough and the town council, and its promotion of local businesses has been agreed between the two authorities. Therefore, it is itself one of the ways we are promoting and supporting businesses. Just to give you a bit of background, well, you asked the question what other things we're doing, and then I'm going to come back to the fee. Approximately 19 million of business rate relief has been provided, 20 million of business grants provided, including discretionary, website promotion of businesses providing virtual services, provision of clear advice and guidance to help businesses operate in COVID-19 safe manner, promotional signage to encourage safe local shopping, social media promotion to encourage local shopping. In terms of the virtual market fee, the Wokingham Virtual Christmas Market was set up following the cancellation of an in-person ice rink and Christmas market style hut event due to COVID-19. To help support local businesses that would have been involved in the market, we decided to take the market aspect virtually and online. Following some research, it was decided to use a Facebook group style event in order to get the market up and running for the longest period. In order to manage companies that were interested in becoming a stallholder, we set up an application form in order to explain rules and responsibilities and also have a form of business identification, including insurance, hygiene certificates and a website. This was to ensure consumer safety whilst we provided a platform for products to be sold on. A small admin fee applied to enter up to the value of £20 for a small sole trader, self-employed or craft type business, and a £50 larger national fee for national and regional business with many shop premises. So far, All of the 40 plus stallholders who have paid have entered at £20 charge level. The admin charge was introduced so that the page could be managed to allow those stallholders to enter the post, which prevents a build-up of hundreds of posts per day that you see in other market groups. So, in summary, the stallholders receive support on any questions / queries they may have during the market timeframe, help to create eye-catching posts, statistics on when to post based on judging by the consumer habits for the previous week, promotion of the market via WBC social media channels, of which our Facebook alone has an average monthly post reach of 1 million, a virtual market open for 38 days, if joined from the start, which is one of the longest running in the country. This all takes away all the behind-the-scenes legwork a small business would normally have to do, allowing the folks solely on their products and the selling. Consumers and stallholders are primarily from within the borough, not just Wokingham Town Centre or the larger towns, but we also welcome consumers from surrounding areas to help the local business grow and access a new consumer group other than those local to them. The secondary aim of the market, alongside supporting local businesses and creating some Christmas cheer in some tough times, is also to extend the reach of those businesses by giving them a platform to interact with people and make connections that will hopefully extend and help their business going into 2021. It should be noted that reaction to the Christmas market has been extremely positive, and we've had no complaint from the businesses that have so far signed up. Do you have a supplementary?
Yes, I do. Sorry, yes. Well, that sounds great and all this sort of stuff, but I'd be interested to know how much revenue this is generating and what value for money these businesses are getting, particularly in this time. I'd like to also curious to know what's happening in other towns. I know what's happening in Wokingham. So
I mean, obviously, I haven't got all the detail of that too. Well, I'll try and get that dug out for you and get that back to you.
Yeah, how much revenue is it generating? Is important.
I get the question. Yep. I don't know the answer to that.
Thank you, Stuart. Thank you, Imogen. Tahir for Charles. Tahir, are you here? Are you here, Tahir?
Yeah. Good evening. Can anybody hear me?
I can hear you, but I can't see you.
I can see myself. Anyway, as long as you can hear me.
I can see you now.
Will the council set up specific arrangements to assist with loneliness, which is currently impacting on many residents across the borough? It not only impacts on the older population, but during this pandemic, it is impacting on younger people as well. Existing issues that were present before are now becoming increasingly chronic. This council needs to consider and work at 3 levels to address the loneliness. Level 1, on a one-to-one basis, launch a local campaign to raise awareness of health effects of loneliness and isolation amongst target risk groups. Make sure this information is available both off and online on a neighborhood basis. Support the voluntary and support sector to further strengthen referral partnerships with frontline healthcare staff and social workers, and then on a strategic basis, agree a long-term plan to act to prevent and reduce loneliness so that it is part of the council's strategic intent, and regularly measure loneliness and mapping needs through needs assessment and/or lifestyle surveys. Results of this can be used to monitor the impact of the intervention.
Thank you for your question. We're already working in several key ways to address this. First of all, on a neighbourhood level, we're very aware that COVID has significantly contributed to many residents feeling lonely and isolated. The council, many months ago, set up the Wokingham Borough Community Response, and one of the key aims was to provide welfare calls to vulnerable and lonely residents. The council's funded additional money into the Link Visiting Scheme to increase their befriending scheme, which involves one-to-one and group work, and that is all about supporting reduction in loneliness. The council has also, for many months, funded the One Front Door service, which is operated by the CAB, and widely publicised the number and many opportunities so that vulnerable residents, including those who are feeling loneliness, can contact One Front Door to get the support needed. During COVID-19 outbreak, we've supported several thousand residents in need. As part of this, local COVID groups have formed right across the borough, and these groups have provided a responsive neighbourhood support service to aim to get a real community approach to supporting people in need. So, to give you the latest figures on welfare calls, in the last 2 weeks, we've made 6,500. 1,800 people already known to adult social care being contacted, 4,700 calls and letters to other vulnerable people on the government list, and 150 referrals from that have gone to the CAB, and 110 referrals to the Link Befriending Service. So that means our proactive work is all picking up people who are suffering from loneliness, and we're trying to do something about it. On top of that, we have the Working and Wellbeing Board strategy, which identified social isolation as one of its key 3 priorities. It set up a subgroup involving the council, the voluntary sector and health. This reports on a regular basis to the Wellbeing Board. The Working and Integrated Partnership has an agreed work programme, and this is specifically a project supporting isolation. This partnership has involved the setting up of the Friendship Allowance, which is the council, Involve, Age UK, the Link and the Working Volunteer Centre. We've spent over £100,000 funding this project. This was initiated 12 months ago and is progressing well. Key parts of this project are expansion of the volunteer transport scheme, establishing a network of friendship champions across the borough, undertaking community engagement work, and the Link Express, which will involve a small group of well-trained volunteers visiting older people within 2 to 3 weeks for this beginning the process of improving mood and well-being through social connection. So yes, I agree with you. Loneliness is a key priority for us. Basically, it's a key thing. We're very much aware that people are in need across our borough and need help with this, and we're doing a lot of things to try and do something about it.
It's a supplementary question.
Well, it's more of a query, really. Thank you. It's nice to know that so much comprehensive work is being done. So my question really relating to all that is, can you quantify your success? Are you able to quantify what you're doing in terms of where we were, where we are going to, and so forth? Can you quantify that? Because it's quite varied.
I mean, this is obviously a difficult thing to measure because you're talking about people's emotional health. I mean, I think the best way I could quantify it right here, right now, is obviously referring to the statistic I quoted earlier, which is the phone calls we've made, that we picked up 110 people who've said to us when we proactively called them that they're lonely and they need help and they need someone to talk to, basically. And that's 110 referrals to the Link Befriending Service. Now, the Link Befriending Service is something we're funding, it's something we're supporting, it's something we're promoting, and it specifically exists basically to have people, and I know, I'm sure he won't mind me saying this, but Councillor Halsall is one of those volunteers who's ringing people up, talking to people on a regular basis to try and make sure they're not alone. We're very aware, basically, of our role to support the vulnerable and needy in our community during this difficult time, basically, and to make sure that no one's left behind. So, in answer to your question, that's probably the easiest answer I can give you tonight. But, we're continuing down this road because we know it's the right thing to do, and the feedback we're getting, and I'd be happy to share with you individual emails I've received, basically tells us it's the right thing to do.
Thank you.
If I could add to that here, I was speaking today at invitation to a group of CCGs and health workers, some 200 leaders today in the health sector. And they were exemplifying our neighbourhood approach and as a model approach to reach out to our community, particularly in this area.
Thank you. I mean, it's a worrying thing with Christmas coming up and everything, and us going into tier 2.
Thank you. Gary Gregor. Gary?
Yes, I'm here.
I can't see your face. If you thought I could.
Well, I've
I now can see your face. How lovely!
I've clicked the magic button. I would add to that last question from Tahir. I think the council is excellent in this department. I know my wife has got lots and lots of calls from all sorts of people asking how she is, and I'm very impressed, and thank you all very much. Getting on to my question, with reference to agenda item 15, monitor customer satisfaction. The report makes the following statement. From feedback to improvement, both quantitative and qualitative information is captured, which helps better understand the customer experience from first point of contact to resolution. Evaluating the customer journey in this way will help to understand strengths and weaknesses in ways of working and actions that need to be taken to improve. So my question is, what members will be involved, and how will that improvement manifest itself publicly? Thank you, Gregor.
Thank you for your question, Gary. Good to see you. As a council, we exist to serve our residents and our community. The Voice of the Customer project is a key way that we're putting customer services and resident satisfaction at the heart of everything we do as a council. While we already perform highly on our key measures of customer service, this project will allow us to better understand our residents' journey from identifying they have an issue or query through to making contact with. Gathering feedback from residents, either directly or via their elected representatives, will enable us to better understand their reasons for contacting us and help us to better redesign either our service provision or our channels of communications and better meet their customer service needs. We would welcome comments and input from members around this Voice of the Customer project. Councillor Fruin has already been in contact with council officers and has volunteered his help and career expertise in this area, which has been greatly appreciated so far. If other members wish to offer their insight or expertise, I will gratefully receive it. How it will manifest itself public is a great question. I don't want to preempt the results of the work before it is undertaken, but I would hope that we will make it easier for residents to directly interact with us. We'll design services in line with the way residents want to use them, not how we want them to use them. Find more ways to support those less able and those reliant on the support of others to access our services, and resolve and respond to issues more quickly and use those resolutions to better inform our decision making and our future communications. Thank you.
Do you have a supplementary, Gary?
Very brief. I welcome that, and I think it's a very positive action to take. But what I don't want to see is the decisions being taken as to how we are improving our service done. How can I say, through PR without involvement of members. And I would think every member would like to would commit themselves to being able to offer help or comment in this. So what I would suggest is when you get to a situation where you found the various weaknesses, that you do speak to members and ask them for their observations. I think it's a very positive move and I do welcome it. And so thank you for that.
Thank you, Gary. Just on that point, so I've already committed to the chair of the Overview and Scrutiny Management Committee that once the new customer service strategy is ready to be delivered, that I will take it to that committee so that it can go through the formal scrutiny process. But customer service is an ongoing thing. We're not going to stop it. It needs to be at the heart of everything that we do, and so it's a ongoing prerogative of every member. If they've got an idea of how we can improve our customer service, I want to hear it.
Thanks very much. That's very welcome. Thank you, John. Thank you.
David Hare. Charles again.
Thank you. Thank you for the agenda item 49, support and care procurement. This will bring a framework agreement and resolve the fact over time there are many individual contracts and spot purchases in WBC adult services. I hope this will enable a consistent and good quality service for all users, while in the long term also reducing costs. As Liberal Democrats, we would encourage this type of development to stabilise services and costs. How is the Executive Member for Health, Wellbeing and Adult Services going to ensure that, while developing this framework, people in care settings do not have disruptions or unnecessary changes to their care?
Thank you. Our ambition is for Wokingham Borough to be one of the best boroughs in the country for adults and carers in need of support and care to live where they feel safe, included, and to be a key part of our community. Our procurement, basically, which this is part of, will help us achieve this ambition, and with our partners will enable us to prevent, reduce and delay the need for formal support and care, and where possible to improve people's health and well-being, focusing on prevention and self-help. Supported living is a service designed to help people with a wide range of support needs to retain their independence by being supported in their own home. Home care is looking after a person from the comfort of their own home. At any one time, there are approximately 700 people in receipt of a supported living or a home care service. Approximately 30 adult care packages are let every month, totaling 360 per year. Providers on the framework will support vulnerable adults, adults with disabilities and older people to achieve the desired outcomes that are important and personal to them. They will help deliver Wokingham's ambitions for adult social care in the borough to ensure that all residents are enabled to achieve their personal goals and ambitions in a context which promotes safety, independence and choice. It's the intention that through this procurement exercise we will continue to meet all of our obligations under the Care Act, ensuring a sustainable and vibrant market that provides high quality services to residents and offers value for money for the council. At the centre of this is our aim to ensure that services are personalised and are in the best interest of our clients. We recognise the importance of ensuring continuity for all residents and minimising disruption. The care and support framework is being developed in collaboration with our local market and social care providers, and they will have the opportunity to work with us when making this framework. We'll continue to work with all our care providers and make this as open and transparent as possible. It is anticipated that virtually all of the providers we currently work with will join the framework. These providers will transfer with their current packages of care, with the client experiencing no disruption in service. There will be a 6-month mobilisation for the framework. We'll work closely with providers that we may choose not to engage with the procurement exercise or may be unsuccessful in their tender submissions. These packages will be reviewed and a decision may be made to change provision to a framework provider where it is in the best interest of the client. This will be managed and clients will be fully supported via a social worker. Alternatively, clients can be offered direct payments, allowing them to receive their existing service with their existing provider if they choose to do so. We recognise that at times people's needs may be better met by providers who are not on the framework, and our process will allow us to use these providers as we need, ensuring that the client's interest is the main focus and priority.
Thank you. My supplementary is twofold in some ways, because you said you'd hopefully be able to reduce some people's care because this was more streamlined and so on. And I wondered how that will happen. I would have hoped that they were getting the care they need at the moment, and not that. And also the fact that you say that you might well be able to use services that are outside the framework. I'm not sure how that works, because you're setting up a framework and then you say, well, you can also use providers outside the framework if you need to.
I mean, in answer to that, David, what I would say is that all existing contracts for care will remain in place, until the framework starts. So there will be no change to any resident who's using a contract at the moment. To deal with your second point first, basically, we want the best for our residents, and we will always, if somebody wants to use another provider, basically, and wants to bring that into the discussion, we will always look at those people. The framework is not a rigid set of rules, and it will change over time, to reflect basically what's happening in the marketplace, what people want, and what the situation is basically that people want. Our aim is very much to use this to drive quality, to increase choice, basically, and to create more stability, as well as basically for the sake of the council to create more financial control, basically, of what we're doing going forwards. We are the biggest budget in the council. Everybody knows the situation with national funding of adult social care, which is a continual pressure, and it's very important that every pound we spend is spent wisely. But the full focus is going to be on achieving the right levels of care for residents. And what will happen basically when the framework starts is the people will have the option of staying on the existing contract or moving into the framework. And if they can choose to stay on the existing contract, they wish to. That's very much the aim of what we're doing here. Better quality, more security, basically, and a better deal for residents and a better relationship with our suppliers going forward.
Thank you, Charles, and they can stay on what they've got with direct payments anyway. So thank you very much.
Absolutely. Yeah, no problem.
Chris Bowring. Chris.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. My question is also for the Executive Member for Health, Wellbeing and Adult Services, and also relates to the agenda item 49, which is support and care procurement. My question to Charles is, how does the proposed framework for support and care procurement tie into your wider plan for adult social care in Wokingham Borough?
Thank you, Chris. I won't repeat things that I just said to David, basically, but to answer your question directly, our ambition is for Wokingham Borough to be one of the best boroughs in the country. And the care and support framework will help us achieve this ambition and work with our partners to enable us to prevent, reduce and delay the need for formal support and care, and where possible to improve people's health and well-being, focusing mainly on prevention and self-help. The final specifications will require providers to deliver re-ablement and strength-based commissioning, where the individual will always be at the centre of any support. Adult social care will work closely with all the adult social care providers to ensure a high quality choice of services are provided to support and safeguard vulnerable residents, enabling them to achieve our key priorities, which are to remain independent as long as possible in their own homes and communities. Through this framework, we will ensure that improvements are made in training and development of the carer workforce. The framework will strengthen our commissioning practice, improving the strategic oversight of commissioned activity, marketing intelligence and engagement with our providers. This will create a much greater stability of placements for our most vulnerable and increase quality assurance, resulting in improved outcomes. So basically, in terms of your question, how will it support our wider plan? Our wider plan is to drive quality, to make sure every pound of taxpayers' money is spent wisely, and also, to deliver on budget. This department, which is the biggest in the council in terms of expenditure, has been on budget for 3 years now, in an environment where we're underfunded by central government and there's increasing pressure on us. And for me, that's no mean achievement, but we're not going to rest on our laurels. We're going to keep going, and this is a key part of doing it.
Thank you very much. Mr. Chairman, if I might ask a brief supplementary. I mean, you said to David that adult social care clearly is the largest budget in the council, and you indicated how the framework will deliver longer term contracts with more control. Are there any other steps that you've taken that would ensure that we provide high quality services and keep expenditure under control?
Thank you, Chris. I mean, two probably main things I would talk about in answer to your question. I mean, since I've been in post and the current DAS, a key framework for us was key priority for us is to improve our financial forecasting, keep better budget controls of where we are. We spent the first probably 3-4 months that I was in this position just working on strengthening our forecasting, so we always know basically our expenditure and our current financial position by streamlining the IT, employing a better accountant, clearly, basically, and working hard in that area. I mean, the other thing I would say, which is something is going to launch fairly shortly, is we've spent the last 12 months working on a program to improve the way we manage demand. This service, probably 90% of the expenditure is on commissioned services rather than staff. And the whole point of basically this demand management approach is you can't get better in this service by reducing staff, increasing staff. It's about how you spend the money, how you recognise the need, and identifying what people need earlier, trying to enable them to live at home. If they need support from the voluntary sector, trying to direct them to that. And we're going to be adopting an approach which has been successful in several other councils. And the aim is simple. We'll improve quality to people that way. And if adult social care does nothing different every year, our costs due to the ageing population and their increasing needs rise by 4% a year, with nothing different. And the aim of this programme as well is it will slow our increase in costs by roughly 50%. So we'll be doing more with taxpayers' money and improving quality.
Thank you, Charles, very much. That's excellent work. Really very, very good. I must say, personally to you, Charles, I think since last March you've played an absolute blinder. So please do carry on the excellent work.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. That concludes the questions. There are no more questions. So, John Kaiser, fees and charges, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Basically, these are the fees that we set. It's for maintaining the services to the community through ensuring that appropriate fees and charges are charged for the service. I mean, basically, members, you're presented with the schedules of the proposed fees and charges. We need to agree these as part of the budget round, and they're contained in the report in Appendix A, effectively from the date shown on the schedule, of which most enacted from the 1st of December 2020. Sports, cemetery, housing, training courses, and youth and community charges will alter from the 1st of January 2021, sports, and from the 1st of April 2021 respectively. Members, you're also requested to agree the fees and charges for the Wokingham element of the Public Protection Partnership Service, which is Appendix B, which is altering from the 1st of April 2021. And please note the statutory charges for these areas. Any questions?
Questions from members? Wayne?
I think, sorry, John, it's probably more a question for Parry on page 48, if you don't mind. It's just, sorry, I'm very excited by the new artificial pitch at Cantley, but my question relates to, will this be open to private cricket clubs and schools which don't have cricket facilities? This is an artificial pitch. Most schools have ordinary grass pitches, but they don't have artificial ones. And for private individuals, the public.
Harry?
Absolutely. Thank you, John. Thank you, Wayne, for your question. Yes, it's going to be a brand new facility, Wayne, at Cantley Park, which should be ready by this time next year, unless you want it earlier. We can do work wonders occasionally, and that will include an artificial cricket wicket and nets. These facilities will offer opportunity for local schools and private clubs if they want to use it, and at adult and junior level to have organised cricket games at the club and school level. And of course, lots of the private clubs have youngsters coming up playing cricket, and they want to bring those youngsters and use this facility. So already I've had several inquiries from private clubs and schools who have already contacted us to actually use the facilities when they are ready, and they will be ready back in the next year.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
John?
Yes, I also have a question for Parry, even though I'm presenting the paper. I'm sorry about that, Parry. I noticed a few of the increases in your area have a high percentage. Could you please confirm how we compare with surrounding authorities and if you've done any benchmarking?
Thank you, John. Absolutely right. We have commissioned a benchmarking exercise to ensure that we were able to offer our sports and leisure facilities at very competitive rates. You'll be pleased to know that we had not put up these charges for some time now, and we felt that due to the current financial pressures posed by the COVID pandemic, we had to bring our charges in line with many other local authorities, such as Bracknell, Barnet, Devon and East Hertfordshire. And you'll be further pleased to note that despite having increased our charges, Wokingham Borough Council is still the cheapest authority compared to the benchmarked authorities. And I'm pretty pleased to, just to add to that, a whole host of new programmes to keep our elderly citizens fit and healthy through our SHINE programs, and these include prevention programs, working and active kids, disability for children and adults, socialisation in care homes, because that's where we've become very, very active now to provide online and offline facilities for these people, and new activities including indoor, outdoor, and cinemas and ice rinks. So yes, we have gone through a benchmarking exercise to make sure that we are competitive, but we are still the cheapest.
Thank you. Any other questions? Is everybody in favour? Can you, by putting a hand up?
Yeah, can I just wanted to add something actually, John, if I may, just bring it to. I mean, we've been speaking earlier on about how we support the community, and I think and we support business after the devastating impact on their livelihoods and those of the people who work for them. And as such, we have agreed on an ongoing policy of free Saturday car parking in the council's car park during the run-up to Christmas in December. This year being Saturday the 5th, 12th and 19th of December, supported by a supplementary estimate of up to £20,000. This helps both residents and business owners alike, which at no time has this been more important.
John, Mr. Chairman, can I just make a comment here? In fact, I was waiting for questions for John, and that would have been my question as well, that we have offered these free parking for our residents, so 2 to 3 weeks ahead of the festive season, and I'm pleased that we're going to maintain that, John. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you, Perry.
I would support that. So,
would you like me to read the recommendation, John?
Yes, please.
Okay. That the executive approves the schedule of fees and charges as set out in Appendix A to the report to be effective from the dates listed on the schedule. To approve Wokinham's discretionary fees and charges for Public Protection Partnership, and to note the statutory charges are set out in Appendix B, which are effective from the 1st of April 2021, and to support the 3 weekend free Saturday parking, as I say, with a supplementary benefit leading up to Christmas at all the council's car parks.
So, those in favour, put your hands up. And I think that's unanimous. Put your hands down, please. Any abstentions? No. Any body against? No. Thank you. Thank you very much, John. That's carried then, all those recommendations, including the car park recommend. So moving to the support of care procurement, Charles, page 135.
Thank you, John. So this is, obviously, I've talked about this already, basically, to some degree tonight. Adult social care has 4 main priorities, which are to protect and safeguard adults, to prevent, reduce and delay the need for formal care and support, to promote and support choice and independence, and to work in partnership and commission services that deliver quality and value for money. Now, this framework in principle report relates to supported living and home care. Now, I talked earlier about the work we've been doing about trying to improve our financial forecasting, control of budgets. These contracts up till now have been let on a spot basis. There's never been any formal process where an agreed set of providers has been set up. So this process is about trying to formalise all of that, generate a bit of competition and get better quality, better forecasting, longer contracts. So therefore the results for residents are with more stability, basically more continuity, and the benefits to the council are better relationships with suppliers and better feedback. So the idea of this framework is it's in place for summer next year. And this is a big spend, £74 million over 5 years, almost all of it on statutory commission services. So should make a significant difference to what we're doing basically for the people it benefits.
Questions? Questions for Charles? Pauline?
Hi, Charles. Just thinking about this. I mean, it's great news that it's a longer and more stable contract. If we find any of the suppliers are not performing, presumably the individual call-offs within that contract can be reduced or varied.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, the whole point of this is we're starting from scratch, basically, effectively. Potentially, contracts we give out due to the spend are of significant value, and it gives us the opportunity to negotiate basically the terms largely that we can set to our as we need. So yes, very much so. If suppliers aren't performing, there is a way out basically, and they won't be working with us anymore. Let's put it that way.
Thank you, Charles.
Any other questions? Nope. Then can I read the recommendation? The Executive recommends to full Council that approval is given for Office to proceed with support and care procurement as set out in Appendix 1 of this report. Officers to create a compliant framework from which to call off support and care packages. The Director of Adult Services to have delegated authority to approve business cases to enter into call-off agreements with successful organisations for individual or block contracts where price and quality benefits are achieved. Those in favour, put your hands up, please. I think that's unanimous. Thank you very much. Let's move on to then the next item on the agenda, which is, hang on. The paperless is getting me beaten tonight. The next item on the agenda is the supplementary estimate for monitoring customer satisfaction. Gregor.
Mr. Chairman, I'm asking the Executive to approve a supplementary estimate to fund the implementation of a tool to measure customer satisfaction and gather feedback from residents. This feedback can then be used to better inform decision-making, service design, and further increase satisfaction. As I've already said tonight, we exist as an organisation to serve our residents. While we already perform highly against our customer service measures, it's important that we don't sit back and rest on our laurels. We want to put customer service at the heart of everything we do, and approving this supplementary estimate will help us do that. The money requested is to fund access to the GovMetrics Customer Insight tool. This tool already is utilised by 70 local authorities around the country to gather resident feedback, compare key measures, and to educate service redesign. In these stretching times, especially in terms of budget, it's important to highlight to everybody, and particularly to our residents, that making this investment tonight will help us save money going forward and help us spend our taxpayers' money more wisely. Investing in this software will enable us to improve our customer service to residents. It will enable us to better target where service improvements are required and why, which will then deliver future cost savings. It will help us to target switching services to self-service and to promote existing self-service options, thereby lowering our cost to serve and allowing our human resources to focus their time and efforts on residents who need more detailed help and support. It will help us respond to repeat issues faster. It will help us to better understand the frustrations and challenges of residents have when trying to access our services. It will also help us to hold performance of third-party suppliers to greater account, resulting in a greater return for residents on our investment. I ask the Executive to support this supplementary estimate of £20,000 and to note the ongoing annual cost of £12,500 per annum for a further 2 years. I'm happy to answer any questions anybody may have.
John?
Yes, I'd just like, if this isn't really a question, this is from my point as being in charge or being the executive member responsible for finance. For a long time, the council worked in silos. It's nice to see we're going to have a tool to pull all the information together. We cannot make the right decisions with regards to services, or even the right decisions with regards to what we spend our money on, unless we have this information. I don't know of any organisation that doesn't have this sort of information when it's serving its customer base. So I will support this.
I feel the same way. Those in favour? Looks like Charles. Yeah, it looks like unanimous. Any against? Put your hands down. Or abstentions? No. Thank you very much. Is that an abstention or against, or just an old hand, Stuart?
The hand wouldn't go up, but I was for.
All right, fair enough. Thank you. Well, thank you very much, and that concludes the business for tonight. We meet again next Wednesday, I believe, to talk about the financial response to the current lockdown, the current circumstances, and the winter programme. Thank you very much, and thank you very much, and have a nice evening. Bye.
Thank you, Chairman. Good night.
Good night, Chairman.
Good night, Chairman.
Good night.
Good night.
Right.